this computer. Yes, so that is us started. So Zoe, thank you so much. You're so kind with your time. That's the first thing I want to say to you is I'm so grateful for all of the time that you've given me, because you're so generous and the information that you share is amazing, and it's testament to how you go against the grain for influencers in terms of your generosity and how committed you are to helping people. And I think it kind of describes your journey and how you got started. So would you mind starting off with what inspired you to start Meals for Many Mouths, and from as no knowledge of Instagram to become so knowledgeable? Could you talk us through that journey?
Yeah, of course. So basically, do you want to mute yourself for a second, just while I
will indeed.
Basically, I started off weaning my first son, and found that there was nowhere. Baby-led weaning was something I always wanted to do with him before basically he was even a thought. It went in with the way I wanted to parent. So when I started weaning him, I found it really hard to find any recipes that would be suitable for us as a family to enjoy with him without having to make 2 lots of meals. Because I was working full-time at the time and didn't have time to prepare 2 lots of meals. And when I had my second son, by that point I was already developing my own recipes for my first son, and then fussy eating and everything. And by the time my second son came along, I was well into what I was doing with weaning and things like that. And everybody, all my friends and family and people on the internet in like mums groups said I should start up a page, but I had no experience of anything at all with social media. I had my own personal account, which I barely used. As a family, we don't really use technology at all. The children don't use technology, full stop. We don't even really let them watch TV. So I knew nothing. I thought about it, and my husband said I should do it because of my food being so amazing. He thought I'd be able to help people. And I really, really wanted to help parents if I could. Everyone said Instagram was the place to be. So I set up my Instagram. My husband named it for me because we call the children humans. So that's where the name originated from, was really from them. And I just thought I'd stick my food on there and see what happened. But I love to read, and really that's mainly how I've managed to grow my Instagram, is to do with my own research, a lot of reading into how Instagram works. And what I've found mainly is the best way to do it is to stand out from the crowds, which is kind of how I am as a person anyway, with my own children and just me in general. I don't tend to follow crowds as it is. And I am parenting my children in, I wouldn't say like an unusual way, but it's a little bit not the norm. So when I was going to run my Instagram account, that I would just do things my own way. And if it didn't work, it didn't work. If it did, it did. But the main thing that I focused on really was helping parents in any way that I could. So originally my account that I set up was to help parents through their weaning journeys by supplying them with tips to get started, recipes that were as simple as you could get, but that the family could enjoy together, and anything else I could offer really with regards to parenting. If I could offer anything, I would do it. And what I found was that seemed to help a lot of parents out. But in terms of growing my Instagram, so basically I read a lot of stuff that said you should be posting this many times a day, you should be posting at this time, that time, whatever it was. And I tried it, and it just didn't work. What everything they were saying, basically, if anything, it made my engagement go down rather than go up. So I just thought that I would try my own methods and see what happened, and basically they worked. So my own method was to post at the time I would be on Instagram. That was the first point for me. As a parent myself, I know when I am on Instagram, and I tend to be on my phone of an evening, because during the day I'm busy with my children and I'm not really thinking about going on Instagram. Now, a lot of the advice that I read on the internet suggested that morning and afternoon was the best time, just for lunch. This didn't seem to work for me. So posting at the time I would be on the internet seemed to work best for me. That was the first fact. It also suggested posting up to 3 times a day, which there was no way I could maintain that with my full-time job, my children and everything else I do. So again, I posted when it was convenient for me. So I only post 3 times a week, basically because that's how many times a week I can maintain the comments and the messages and everything that comes with that. Posting any more than 3 times a week for me just makes it unmanageable. And what happens then is I'm not able to reply to people and interact with people on the post that I'm putting out, which then affects my engagement overall, because then I'm not interacting with the people that are using my account. So you have to be realistic in what's manageable for you, and that will differ from everybody depending on, you know, circumstances in general. So yeah, basically engagement is the key. So the more you engage, the more Instagram shows you out there in the world. I don't really know. So basically, if you was to put out a post and not reply to any of the comments, it doesn't look very good for your account. And it doesn't look very good for Instagram, because it looks like just posting stuff and there's nothing there in the background, and it's more like a robot. So basically, the advice I've always given Olive is to be herself, be you. Don't try to be anybody else. Another big thing I think that's helped me a lot is that I am myself. With the way I am, I don't actually spend a lot of time on Instagram as a whole. I go on, I do my stuff on my account, and I come off. I'm never really anywhere else other than my own account. So I never really see what my competitors might be doing, because that would then put me off what I was focusing on. Because trying to be another account is never going to grow your account, because then you're just a copy of somebody else's account. So there's no reason why that person should then go and follow you, because you're not offering anything that they can't get somewhere else from somebody that's already more successful than yourself with followers and things like that. So when they come onto your account, they compare your account to somebody else's, and the other account's got more followers, they're interacting more, their content looks more original. That's the one they're going to go for. So basically, be yourself. Everybody has got something they can offer without having to copy somebody else, basically. The best thing I found was searching hashtags that are not as popular as some of the other hashtags. When you're putting out a post, I always tend to go for the hashtags with the least amount of uses rather than the ones with the most, because then you have a higher chance of coming up. Like, it's going to be searched less, but you're going to be more at the top of that hashtag rather than lost in a sea of other people in the same hashtag, if that makes sense. So you won't be, that hashtag isn't obviously searched as much, but you're going to be higher up it, so you've got more chance of being seen. So I tend to do a mix of a couple of the bigger ones, just so that my name is in the bigger ones, but a lot more of the ones that aren't so used. And I also go searching in those hashtags purely comment. So that helps a lot too. So basically, I'll search hashtags related to my topic. So for me, it's baby-led weaning, or family meals, family recipes. I'll search family recipes in the search bar at the top, click on the hashtag, and then go to the most recent posts. And then basically I'll just go through them and comment on up to 30, although at the moment I don't have time to do that at all, but up to 30. It usually takes me about 20 minutes or so just to add a comment relevant to the post. I just scan through it, get a general gist of what they're talking about, and then post a comment. I tend to do this on posts where there's less comments rather than more, because then the chances are your comment is going to be seen by the person that posted. If you go and comment on a post with, say, 150 comments already, the chances are your comment's just going to get lost and the person's not going to read it. But if you go and comment on something with about 10 to 20 comments, the chances are your comment's going to be seen by the person you're trying to get to follow you. That's quite helpful as well. Is there anything else? Or, I mean, I've got loads, but I don't want to just bombard you and just...
No, everything you're saying is amazing, and it's just totally incredible. And I think mainly to be yourself, you know, when we need to be ourselves. So how did you decide on your vibe and what you wanted to share and how you wanted to be different? Because there's a lot of people doing menus for children, but very few as successful as you.
Yes, yeah. So the main thing for it was I decided right from the off that I was going to just do what felt right to me. Whether that was going to get me popular or not, I actually at that point I didn't really care. I would have rather have helped just a couple of families than helped 1,000. I really wasn't focusing on my followers at that point. Still, actually, to be honest, I say at that point, but still, I'm still not really focused on my followers. It means so much more to me when a family says that I've helped them, as opposed to, say, having another 1,000 followers that day. Having a family message me and say that I've helped them means so much more to me than anything. But basically, I used Facebook groups initially. So all the mum groups and things like that, I just go and join in conversations and use that as a way to put my name in there. I would check the group rules though. That's a big one, because you don't want to go upsetting anybody. But basically, I check the group rules, and if I couldn't see any rules on self-promotion, or I'd drop in a link in, then I would drop my link in wherever relevant. Even sometimes if it wasn't relevant, if somebody was looking for a bit of packed lunch, for instance, I don't really focus on packed lunch, but sometimes I put them on my stories. So I used to just go and say, I sometimes post packed lunch recipes, which would lead into my account, and that sometimes would be enough. But yeah, comment in Facebook groups was a big one. I am in so many Facebook groups, it's unreal. Basically, what I do is I only join groups that I know I can post in, because if I'm in groups that I can't share my account in, the chances are I'm not going to remember that. I'm going to end up sharing my account in somewhere where I'm not allowed, and then that's just not going to be good. So I only join groups where I know I'm allowed to share my content. Comment, get to know people as well. Actually, comment on a lot of stuff, even if I'm not going to be sharing anything to do with me, just so that people feel like I'm a part of something. So I'll just comment on things and get to know people and say, you know, that's a cute baby or whatever, or well done with learning to walk, whatever it is. I'll comment and make them feel sounds bad, make them feel, but make them feel like I'm getting to know them, so that my name's familiar in the group before I then share myself. So they've already got to know me and know who I am as a person. So then when I just throw my link out there, it doesn't look like I'm just throwing myself out there. There's more of it makes sense, I think. So if I was to just go and throw my link out there, no one would know where I've come from or who I was. I'm just this person throwing a link out there, and that's that. I'm not connecting with anyone. I'm not trying to get to know anybody. Don't do it often, I have to say. I kind of think I sound like I'm saying like you need to become friends with these people. You don't. Literally just dropping the odd comment here and there is enough, just so your name appears now and again already in the group chats. So Facebook groups has been a big one to help me. Having my friends share me for me, that helps a lot as well. Get your family and friends involved. They don't have to do a lot. You're not asking much of them. Literally just sharing your link wherever they can. If it's sharing on their own Facebook page or Instagram accounts, that is going to help. What's the other thing that I put down? Yeah, so another big factor is value content. Personally, from my point of view, what I see a lot on Instagram is that people just tend to post how they're feeling or what they're doing that day. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but also trying to offer value, so stuff that people might share, so shareable content, because the more they share that, the more your name's going to be on it and out there. So value content really is a big one. Obviously my account is full of value content, but I try to use my stories a lot as well and give value there. So my content, like my content ratio is normally around 2 value posts to 1 non-value post, if that makes sense. So, but I use that through my story. Every single post I put out is a value post. It's a recipe, it's something useful. But on my stories, I tend to post a bit about my kids, my day, whatever, and then just throw in something useful. So normally it's either another recipe or a meal we've had that day or a tip on how to serve it. Because the more value you're offering people, the more you're going to get talked about, because people are finding you useful. You're not going to get talked about if you're just sharing a nice picture of, say, your children or something like that. There's nothing much there for people to go away and talk about. It's a nice picture, but it's not something people will then go and share with their friends or their family and say, hey, I saw this great idea on so-and-so's page. That's what's going to get you. So the more people you can get people talking about you, the better hopefully you should do, because your name's getting out there. Whether that's through Facebook or Instagram, it doesn't really matter so long as your name is out there. Tagging relevant people in your posts. So that does take quite a work trying to figure out. It depends on what your account is, what your business is. But wherever you can, try and tag relevant people in the post, because the chances are you might get shared through that too. So I've gone out and tried to use competitors and seeing what they tag in their posts and stories and things like that, to try and gauge an idea on what I should tag in. And I tend to either tag similar things or the same thing, because that works. And then you'll get seen by companies and things that are related to you. So good ones for me, say, are like parenting magazines, parent pages like Made for Mums and things like that. They're all good ones, because the chances are they're going to see your name and then hopefully share you at some point if they like what you're sharing. So tagging is quite a good way. Another thing that I found useful recently is go into this is a bit of a like bad one, but basically go into competitors' Instagram accounts, and on the if you go to their top bit, you'll see that you can view their grid and you can view the posts they've been tagged in. On the right hand side, there's two buttons, one for their grid and one to show you what they've been tagged in. Basically, if you click on the bit on the right hand side on the ones they've been tagged in, you can go to the post they've been tagged in and then go and comment on the people that have tagged them. So then basically they're tagging your competitor. You know it's already relevant to them because they're already looking in that field, and then you can comment and they can get to know your name as well. It's a bit cheeky, but it works, and I do get quite a few followers that way. That's one I recently figured out.
How long does it take you to do all of this?
So I don't have much time in general. I really don't. So basically, for my own account at the moment, it is non-existent. But normally it's around about half an hour to an hour is all I spend doing this stuff. I put out my post, I put out my stories, and then I'll spend about half an hour to an hour just going out there and interacting, whether that's commenting on my own stuff on my own page and messages and things like that, to going and searching hashtags and commenting on other people's stuff in the world, or in Facebook groups, just interacting. So it's about half an hour. I don't ever do more than an hour because I don't have the time to. But that seems to be enough. But the more value you can put out there and the more you can be you and unique, and the more you come across as a real human, somebody that actually cares, the more popular you're going to be. That's the only thing I can really figure out is that, because every time I've tried to follow what I've read on the internet that says that it works, it's never worked. It's never worked for me or for the company that I work for. It's not worked. But just going my gut instinct seems to be the best way. And basically, all my gut instinct is just being. That's basically it. I know it sounds really, basic. Is and interacting as much as possible.
It doesn't sound basic at all. It sounds so genuine and so amazing. And two questions have come up on the chat. Laura's asked, how far in advance do you plan your content? And Pamela's asked, is that half an hour to an hour a day? Like, would it average out over 7 days?
Yeah, it probably would average out about half an hour to an hour a day. I have to say, this is what I did initially in the early days. I've got to a point with my account at the moment where basically if I grow any more, I will not be able to maintain it. And what I will then lose is being able to actually help people. So if I grow any bigger, it's already out of control as it is. So I cannot physically reply to everybody anymore, and it breaks my heart, because I already feel like it's not a good thing. There's people wanting to ask me questions and I can't reply to them. So basically, I'm at a point where I don't do that anymore because I don't want to grow any bigger, because I can't manage it. But you do that for half an hour to an hour a day, you will grow, and you will get more and more in Instagram's algorithms, as they call it. You will sit up there. Now, I know that works because I'm not doing that anymore at all. Like I don't go anywhere. I go on, I post my stories and I come off. I answer stuff on my own account and I don't go searching for anything anymore. And what I found is my posts aren't getting anywhere near the level of insights, which is basically being seen in Instagram overall, and they've gone down by half. So I do know that that works, because my own account now is not being seen as much in Instagram at all. So yeah, which is a good thing for me, because I right now I could do without it in a nice way.
Of course.
So yeah, what was the other question? I've forgotten. Sorry.
How far in advance do you plan your content?
Yeah, so it's kind of a little bit of a mix of everything. Again, I tend to put out about 3 posts a week. Most of the time they are planned, because my head never stops thinking of new recipe ideas. So what I tend to do is I have a spreadsheet of all my recipe ideas, and I'll add a new one in every week to our general meal times, photograph it, write it up, and then I'll just share it whenever I feel like I've got the time to do it one night. So they are kind of planned, but a bit ad hoc. Like at the moment with the lockdown and things, I'm sharing stuff that's relevant to right now. So if I'd planned for posts to go out right now, they would have been scrapped, and I'd be doing what I'm doing now, which is posting stuff relevant to right now. Because it just wouldn't, there's no point posting a pasta recipe when nobody can get hold of pasta right now. It'd just be pointless. And the other thing is, for my work, that all of that is planned months in advance. So every single post that goes out via, I don't know if people know who I work for, but
And we did, and I was and it would be great to tie in an add on when you explain that, because that you're generating amazing sales for through your Instagram, because we see loads of influencers and they have a big following, but it's not actually, from a business perspective, it's not generating sales. But you're doing both. You've grown your own with your passion, and now you've grown another one when the algorithms, people said they don't grow at this time, but you've proved that wrong. I'd love to hear more about that and how you've used Instagram to generate such shit hot sales. Sorry, big mouthful there.
Yeah, again, that's kind of, oh God. Yeah, so that's kind of going off my own thought process again. Just use my own, like, what's in my head. A lot of I was actually just talking to my colleague today and saying that right now my head is so just ready to explode with ideas that it's actually, like, it hurts. So I need like a few days off to sleep this out, and then I'll feel better again. But basically, so with the company, so with Bibadoo, basically I plan all of their content about 2 months in advance. So right now, all the posts going out next month are already done, and the June is done as well. The only difference is we basically have had to completely scrap the whole of April because of what's happened. There's just a way that it was not relevant, and it was just pointless. So basically, we left March as it was to keep running, and found that basically engagement and interaction dropped because the posts weren't relevant to the time. So what we did this month was basically, again, adding value. So I don't know if you've seen the Bibadoo community stuff that went into my head one night, but basically sharing activities and things like that. So it's relevant to right now, which is working a dream. It's getting people involved, interacting, and getting our name out there, because people are sharing the activities because it's relevant and unique, and us, it's nobody else, but also they're getting involved as well by tagging us, and we're sharing there. So we're not even having to do a lot of the work ourselves, because we're literally just sharing other people's activities, which is helping me out massively at the minute, because there's no way I could think up that many activities just straight off. So yeah, so I do plan all of their posts. Their posts are all planned. But again, they're usually relevant to the month. So I'll take a month, I'll look at what's going on in that month, like Mother's Days, Easter, whatever, I'll look, and I'll also look at bank holidays and things across the world, so that we're we're relevant to the world rather than just UK. And then I'll add those in, which fill up quite a lot of days, and the rest is filled of a mix of value stuff, so tips, advice, hacks, recipes, and we also share quite a few of the people that use us. So that's a good way of marketing and getting your name out there on Instagram, because basically you share somebody's picture of somebody's baby with the bib on, and what they do is they share it because they're happy to have been shared, and they want everyone to know that their baby's been used. And then what that does is that person then shares it with their family and friends, and their partner might share it, and the grandma might share it, and what happens, it gets shared everywhere. But then by the time it's been shared outside the family, people are then sharing it because they like the idea of it. So they're sharing it because they're like, wow, this bib is amazing. And they're not sharing it from a personal point of view, if that makes sense. So once it's got past the personal point, you then find that people share it because they like the product, or they like what's being shared. So that helps as well. So all the pictures so basically there's not just me that does this anymore, but there's quite a few people that are constantly looking for images that meet my criteria. So I'll tell them what I'm looking for every month. It'll be like a picture of a baby completely covered in spaghetti bolognese, for instance, because what I want to show is that even if the baby is completely caked in food, the baby's still clean. So again, that kind of isn't value, but there is a point behind it. The point is that hopefully, beyond the person sharing it because it's their kid in the picture, people will then share it because they're liking what they're seeing. If that makes sense. I don't know if that's so. It doesn't appear like there's a reason behind it, but there is, and that's kind of the way you have to go forward with everything. Why am I posting this? For what reason am I posting it? Is there a point to it beyond just being a case of posting for the sake of posting? If that probably makes more sense than what I just said, I think. So try and think of a reason why you're doing what you're doing, basically. And if you can't really think of a reason, there's no reason to say you don't post it. Just try and think, is it worth posting right at that second? So with Bibidoo, I have 2 folders. We call it random and value. So the random ones are just literally random photos. There's no point behind them other than they look cute. You know what I mean? And basically, if I cut, so, and then there's the value stuff, which is either, like I say, recipes, tips, hacks, blogs, first-hand experiences of weaning, parenting, anything of value that might get shared and people might relate to. And I stick that in between all the events that are going on that month. And then if there's any gaps, I fill it up with the random stuff. So there'll be a few bits in there that are just for the sake of it, but a lot of it is value, and there's a point behind it. If that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. And I think we're constantly told that we need this perfectly curated Instagram feed. It has to look a certain way. It has to be a diamond. And you're basically saying that's not going to add value.
No. We try, well, I'll say we. I tried doing a pattern. We also tried, when Bibidoo rebranded at the start of the year, we tried making it look more professional, more like, you know, like you see quite a lot of the more businessy type pages, they're really sleek and neat and tidy, and everything's branded and everything looks smart and professional. What we actually found was engagement went down because there's nothing much there that people can relate to. So from a business point of view, for Bibadoo, it doesn't work because people would only follow Bibadoo then because they bought the bib. There'd be no other reason to follow them. So as a company, they couldn't really use Instagram as a marketing tool. There's no reason for those for people to be following Bibadoo, because they're literally just following it because they've bought that product or they know of that product. And then once they've followed, looked at the page, the chances are they're never going to come back to it. So they're never going to be able to use it as a market tool. So we decided to go back to our old ways of making it look more like a general Instagram account, you know, parent friendly, engaging, stuff there that makes people want to keep coming back to the page and sharing the stuff. And that's the way you can use it as a marketing tool. Because simply just making it look really sleek and professional is not going to work, because people are not going to come back to you time and time again. They're going to look at your account, follow you because they know of you, and then never visit your page again, not for any reason, because there's no reason to visit your page, which means there's no reason for them to share anything that you post on your page, which is why we add a lot of value in, because it makes it more relatable, it makes it more parent friendly, and it makes you want to keep coming back for more. So half of the time, especially at the moment, there's basically nothing on Bibadoo's account right now that's us marketing the bib. Everything that's on there is not even related to the bib. Not one bit. It's activities, it's ideas for getting through you know, isolation and lockdown, and we've barely in the last month spoken about the bib, yet sales are probably as good as they've like, you know, better than they've ever been. So it proves that you don't have to even market to yourself on your page. You just need to be relatable. I think that helps. Sorry.
No, that totally helps. We've had 2 questions come in while you're talking. From the community building perspective through Bibadoo, is that just done through the Instagram? Is there a Facebook group alongside that?
No, there's no Facebook group. I've been putting a few bits that basically would look more professional on the website. So a few of the items I've been deliberately putting onto the website so that I can then put the link into the post, which then takes people to the website. They're done deliberately. Because then that's getting people to the website. But a lot of them are literally just posts on Instagram and Facebook. Facebook group. There's no, we've not even pushed it. Initially, when we started at the start of April, we pushed it in a few of the isolation Facebook groups, you know, my old trip of using Facebook groups. So we did just put the link in there a few times, but actually we've not needed to do that for about the last 3 weeks now. It's kind of sorted. It's like doing its own work. But yeah, there's no group or anything like that.
And that, thank you so much for that. I keep thinking I'm on mute. This guy's driving me mental here. And one of the questions that has come up is how many posts a day on the Bibadoo feed? Because your own, you've scaled back due to the size and the numbers, but Bibadoo now is a similar number to yours, thanks to you. But are you continuing to post more frequently there?
Yeah, so I don't need to worry about that point of view. Basically, I don't have anything to do. I don't have anything to do with the comments and interaction that happen on Bibadoo. So that's done by my colleague. So I literally just create the post it, and then I'll just keep an eye on it to check that it's doing okay. in terms of insights, engagement, and all the rest of it. So somebody else does that. So I don't need to worry about being too big with them, which is good. I don't even see how many. In fact, actually on Tuesday, I did have to help because it got out of control, which did make us laugh a little bit. It was unmanageable for one person full time, all day, sat on there. So, so I did have to intervene then. But what was the question? I forgot. Sorry.
How many posts a day on the Bibadoo?
Oh yeah. So it was one a day, but right now it is 3 a day, because what we're trying to do again is the value. So we're offering an activity in the morning to get people through the morning, an activity just after lunch to get people through the afternoon, and then in the evening, which is me, but I'm here right now, so it'll be going out late, is the actual post that should have gone out through April. Goes out at night because I didn't want to waste all my hard work. So basically, I'm posting what should have gone out as one post a day in the evening, but at the moment we're adding those 2 extra posts in. I'll not lie, right now we've found that the 3 posts a day thing is working a treat, but we're unsure as to if that's because of what we're sharing and the fact that a lot of people are at home at the moment. We don't know if that's going to work once people go back to work, because actually we were finding that the 1 post a day was doing us a lot of favors. It was, and I was posting at the same time on my own account. So it was, again, when I was online. So we were finding that the interaction of the posts, likes and insights were way up just on the 1 post a day. When the lady before me had tried it numerous times a day following the information she's seen online, same as me, it didn't work. They weren't getting the interaction they were getting through the 1 post a day I suggested that I posted. But right now, the 3 posts a day, I won't lie, is working, but I wouldn't want to say that's just purely because of what we are sharing, and because everybody's at home. So I do still think that 1 post a day is enough. So if you're trying to grow a business, I definitely recommend 1 post. If you want to be like me, where you just want to make it manageable, then just post when it's manageable for you, if that makes sense. But the 1 post a day does seem to do enough to get you noticed by Instagram.
Thank you so much. You keep mentioning posting when you're online. Does that mean you don't use a scheduling software or even Facebook Creator Studio? Do you post directly from your phone?
Okay, so we do have a system, and so like all of May is in that to go out. Right now, they're done manually by me by hand, purely because we're being very careful of what change with the world, if that makes sense. So we didn't want a post to go out that might be totally not relevant to that day. We just don't know what's going to happen right now at the moment. And basically, if I was to be say Rue woke up right now and the post automatically went out before I'd had a chance to cancel it, and then it wasn't relevant to right now, it might not look really good, and it'd be really hard to try and delete that. So through April, we decided that we'll just keep it to me posting it. But the posts throughout May do go out when I would normally be online. So basically the posts they aren't used, put into a system that does it for us, but they are set to go out at a time when I would normally be posting them anyway, if that makes sense.
Totally, because there's a lot of confusion and nobody actually knows. Does using a scheduling software impact the algorithms, in your opinion?
To be fair, I've not noticed any difference. We've been using it now since I think it was around November last year, and we've noticed a problem with using it. if anything, it's a godsend, because not for me personally, but for the lady that does all the replies and comments and messages, it literally puts all of your comments and messages from every single social platform into one big thing for you to just go and answer. So she doesn't then need to go into Instagram, Facebook, messages, this, that, and the other. Everything is in the one place. So she can just go through and answer comments from everywhere. And it even tells you, you know, things you've been tagged in, so you can comment places that you would maybe have not seen had you not, if you were doing it yourself manually, if that makes sense. So for us, we find, in fact, it was actually down the other weekend. So we had to go back to old ways. And when it was back up and running, there was loads of stuff that had been missed. And she had been checking very carefully. So even if she's checking carefully, she'd have missed those things. So yeah, I would recommend it. We haven't noticed any issues with using one. If anything, it is a godsend, especially for us as parents. Like all of us in Bibbidi were parents, and without it, we'd either miss stuff, or if I became unwell, for instance, and I couldn't post that day, I know that the post is going to go out at least, and the business is going to keep running as if I was there.
That sounds absolutely amazing. No, thank you so much. You're so generous with your information. This is why part of why you're so amazing, Zoe. Which scheduling software is it? Alison would love to know.
Sorry, didn't hear all of that.
Stop me. It's the ball party in the background. Which scheduling software do you guys use?
So it's a system called Sprout that we use. I don't know much more about it because I don't look after that part, but I do know it's Sprout, and it is good. We use it and it is good. I haven't put my own Instagram account into there, although we have said about doing it. Basically, the lady that does Bibbidi was going to answering stuff on my account for me. I haven't decided where I'm sat with that, because then that isn't me. So it's me replying to people from my parenting point of view, and it might not be accurate to how I actually parent my own children. So from that point of view, right now, I'd rather not, simply because of the way I parent. I wouldn't want someone to give something that wasn't how I did things at home. So yeah.
Thank you so much. And we're going to open up to some questions. Would that be okay if some of the other women could ask some questions? Because everything you're sharing is so amazing, and it ties into the ethos of basically all of our businesses, about being ourselves, building relationships, creating those connections, and just ignoring the competition because they're not our concern. So do you mind? I'm going to move on to gallery view, and if anybody would like to ask a question, just to raise their hands. John, here we are now. Oh, Laura, will you unmute yourself and ask away, and I'll silence this background.
Hey Zoe, thanks very much for that. That was really interesting. I am a personal stylist and personal shopper, so mine's more like service based. But I feel that I have spurts of I've got really good ideas for a bit, and then it just like dies down. And I find then I'm really quite sporadic, I suppose, in my posting. And then even it might just come to me and I think, right, okay, I'll just post it at 11 in the like daytime, and then kind of wait until the evening, even with like my stories. And so from what you're saying, it needs a bit more of a theory to that. But I just sort of like wanted to get your opinion, I suppose, on that way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, from that, what you're saying, I would probably recommend all the ideas that you have, whenever you have them, I would write them down. This is what I do with my account and both my account and Bibbidi, is write all your ideas down as they come into your head. Sorry, I've got child problems. I always do it. It's the only time they're ever awake is when I'm on the call. He's got milk. He's got milk now. Yeah. So what I would do is write down all your ideas, and then gradually filter those out. So don't just do what you do at the moment, which is have bursts and then nothing. What you'd be better off doing is writing those ideas down and then just carefully filtering them out over the month. And gradually, as you're doing that, more is ahead. So eventually, it'll just be a steady flow of. You'll spread those. So if you have 5 good ideas, don't share all those 5 ideas in 1 week. Share them over 5 weeks, or 2, you know, however many you want, and then however quickly your ideas come to you. Basically, you know how quickly your ideas. So I know that I can invent. Most weeks I invent 2 new recipes in my head a week. So that's why I only post 2 to 3 times a week, because then I know I've always got a constant supply of new ideas going out. So if you have 5 new ideas, post them over 5 weeks, and by the time you've got to near the end of the 5 weeks, you should have another set of ideas in your head, which will then keep you going. So then people will know and learn to know your account and know that each week you give them 1 new idea, which is much better than you blurting out 5 ideas in 1 week and then people come back to you the next week, there's nothing. And the following week, they come back to you and there's nothing. And then the next week, they come back to you and there's nothing. And by that point, they're not coming back to you at all. So then they're not coming back to you when you've suddenly got more ideas again. So then they learn to expect that that's coming weekly. I think that helps.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I think I felt massive pressure to literally try to post daily. And then if I wasn't doing it, I was sort of like beating myself up about I haven't got any ideas and it was crap or anything. So, really helped. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's another thing is people get to know you then as a person. So they know that your posts are coming, say, 3 times a week. Or 2 times a week, which is much better than them not knowing when you're going to post and when that value might be coming. So yeah, just post as many times as you know you've got valid value content to post. Otherwise, there is just simply no reason to be posting. And eventually, if you write those ideas down, you'll find that you can basically then start filling your weeks to get yourself to almost 1 post a day. I mean, if you're struggling for ideas, there's no reason why you can't go searching for ideas and reuse them as your own. I don't literally take somebody's work and share it as your own. But even sharing somebody else's work and tagging them in it will do you a lot of favors than not posting anything at all. It will obviously lead them to that person, but it will lead them through you as well. And then you're also building relationships with people outside of yourself, if that makes sense.
Do you mean do you mean that on my actual grid, or would you mean that through stories that I'd do that?
Stories or your grid is absolutely fine. Now again, on my own account, I share, this is literally like what I see and I find funny. If I see a funny meme or something, again, I'm really careful about what I post because I don't want any bad feeling. If I see a funny meme, I will share it. I'll tag the people that it was originally posted, but that is just off the cuff. That is literally just something I see, find funny and post. I tend to do that on my stories. But the meme ones for Bibadoo now and again work quite well as posts in grids as well. So that works too. Just make sure that you're conscious that you're tagging the people that it belongs to, because later down the line you wouldn't want any bad feeling coming back.
And would you say, is it with the stories, do you just do stories 3 times a week as well, or is that daily that you do your stories?
So I was talking to Olaf about this a little while ago. Basically, I use my stories as my shop front. So basically, my stories shows that I'm an active account and running constantly. So there is always something on my little circle constantly. I post my stories at least 5 times a day, if not more. Again, that is filtered out. So at the moment, because my kids are here and I can't post during the day, basically my stories all go out at night at the moment, but that's not normal. That's not normally how I do things. What I normally do is I'm always a day behind. No one knows that. So everything you'll see on my story is actually yesterday, not today, because then I have a full day of stories already ready to post. But what I do with them is I post them throughout the day strategically. Normally there's one just before breakfast, then there'd be one just after school run, there'd be one just at lunchtime, just before I go on the school run, just before dinner, and then again once my kids go to bed, then once again when I go to bed. But then what's happening is there's a new circle appearing on your account throughout the day constantly.
Yeah.
You know, at the top bar you see all the little circles. When you go onto the Instagram feed, there's the circles along the top. What that means is that people that do follow you, you will be appearing at the top of the grid throughout the day. So at the moment, for me, posting all my stories, it means that people that have watched all my stories that night are then not seeing me at the top until the next night. And the little circle around it is then left. So by posting throughout the day, there's a little red circle there constantly. So basically it's like my 9 to 5 shop front. It means I'm open. So there is always something on my stories 7 days of the week. The only time there isn't anything on my stories is when I just want to take a break and I just want to spend some time with the kids. I don't even want to think about my phone at all. So which is, I don't do that very often purely because I want my account to look constantly active. But that's the only way I can maintain my account looking like there's somebody running it all the time, because with my posts only going out 3 times a week, there's often, if you was to click on one of my posts, it would say the last time I posted was 5 days ago, or 7 days ago. So it looks like no one's been on account for 7 days. But because there's always something on my stories and it's only always a few hours old, it's showing that somebody is still there and still using the account. So people are still coming back to that account for, you know, content. And through my stories, I always put a couple of value things in there as well. So again, people click on it and there's a reason for them to come and look at my story so they can see anything of value that might be on there. And it's the same thing with Bibadoo, so it's a little bit different with them. Their stories are posted to constantly throughout the day, like literally 3 to 10 an hour, because then they're constantly at the top of Instagram. So yeah, stories is the biggest thing you can use. But then it doesn't have to be as much value, so that really is just pictures of my kids and what they've been up to that day. I don't provide a constant value use there. That is just purely to show that I'm there and using it. Yeah.
Thank you, that's really good, thank you.
Emma typed in there about hashtag usage in stories and how that works. How that old chestnut.
Yeah, hashtag in stories is really important. People don't use it. So there's another little hidden thing that people don't know about on there, but basically only so you can hashtag as many, I think it's you can only hashtag once. You can tag as many people as you like in the story, but you can't hashtag more than once. But you can basically, if you just set a standard type box, you hashtag whatever it is. So if I was posting my child's lunchbox, I'd select a text box and do hashtag lunchbox, hashtag kids lunch, hashtag blah blah blah, and there could be as many as I wanted. What I then do is shrink it down really tiny, and hide it behind something else, because then the hashtags, you can't see them because they're hidden behind a photo. But then what that does is I'm then in a million different hashtag stories everywhere, and no one actually can see that I'm in thousands of hashtags. So yeah, hashtagging in stories is really important, and they do work. They work. Use your stories, hashtag and tagging wise, exactly in the same way you would your grid posts, because they're just as important in terms of getting yourself out there.
Thank you so much. That's such a cool idea though as well. It's so just to hide them and to be a bit like stealth-like about your hashtag usage. Has anybody else got any questions? Would they like to raise their hand? And all this amazing knowledge that has been shared with us tonight is absolutely incredible. Oh, Flora?
Well, I was just going to ask quickly, do you post the same content on Facebook and Instagram, or do you make sure that it's different content?
No, it's exactly the same. It literally, whatever I post to Instagram posts to Facebook. It's done through Instagram, so I just tick the little box and it just posts it. I don't have much to do with my Facebook account at all, really. It kind of, again, it's unmanageable, so I don't try and pursue it.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Leslie's comment to say she's got no questions, but to say thank you so much, that this has been brilliant, Zoe. So thank you so much. There's another question coming down. Has anybody else got a question? Lizzie's saying wow. Anybody else got any questions? Do you have one, Elspeth?
Not a question, just going to say thank you and hi to Zoe.
Hi.
It was amazing. Thank you very much. Afterwards, I'm going to have loads of questions. I'm like, why didn't I ask that? But I think I'm still like turning over everything. So thank you.
Oh, you're fine.
Can I ask one last question? Is that okay, Zoe? Because I know you've been so kind. Who else? Because I know you do a lot of research onto Instagram, and like you're like this amazing Instagram ninja, like absorbing everything. Who else do you think is doing Instagram really, really well that we're not going to copy, but we're going to look and absorb how amazing they are?
Oh God. I can't answer that honestly. I don't know. I really don't know. It's not because I think I'm amazing, by the way. It's just because I haven't looked into it, and I genuinely know if I'm doing an amazing job. So I haven't really looked into what anyone else is doing. I have read a lot of stuff on through Google and various other sources, but I've never really looked at what other people are doing and how well they're doing it. There's not really anyone that I can think of that I would say was doing really well. There is a big account within Weaning, and if you're in the weaning world, you might know of her, What Mummy Makes, but she hasn't technically been successful in her approach because she was simply shared by somebody famous, and that's how she's grown her following, and that's how she's maintained it, is because she's followed by somebody famous. So again, I do look at her account a lot to try and figure it out, but I can't figure out if anybody else is doing anything better, or
But that's a really good ending point, because it's basically stay in your own lane and just focus on what you're doing and add in the value and continue to make a difference, and that's going to serve us so much more than anything else.
Yeah, I do think that's really the best advice I can give, or you can give yourself, is really just try not to worry what anybody else is doing, because not only does that just cause like unnecessary stress and worry and wondering if you're good, But basically, there's always going to be somebody out there that's doing or appears to be doing better than you, or, you know, and again, the example is what Mummy makes. If you was to look at her compared to me and followers, wow, she's doing amazing. But then how she's got there is completely different to how I've got to where I am. So you can't really compare, because you don't know anybody's background story, you don't know how they've got there. So just try not to worry about what anybody else is doing, and just simply focus on you, and then your headspace is purely focused on what you're doing, which will in the long term give you more headspace. Because you're not really worrying about what everybody else is up to. Yeah.
Raise your hands if you think that's like the best advice ever to get when you're running your own business. That's so lovely, and it's part of why I've got such a talent crush on you, is because you're just so inspiring about how we just need to focus on ourselves, and really that's my ethos of business, is not worried about anyone else. Laura said amazing, love it. And with that, I just wanted to say, Zoe, thank you so much for your time and for sharing everything. I just want to get on Instagram now after I get this fella to bed. Like, I want to get on. Emma said, thank you so much. You've been amazing, Zoe, and we're so, so grateful. Thank you so much. High five for Zoe. Thank you. And yeah, and by the way, your recipes are amazing. They're absolutely incredible. I don't know how you come up with them. I'm like, oh my God, they're so inspiring.
Yeah, my head's constantly like, yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, sometimes I don't have to say they don't always work. There's a lot of disasters. But yeah, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
But they're all yours. And the hidden veg and the sausage roll, I was particularly impressed with the types of vegetables you managed to get in there, and the fruit as well. It's like, oh, that is impressive.
Yeah, they don't even know. It's great. They've got no idea. No, the recipes do just seem to come into my head, and I don't know how I do it, but they do. But it's mainly based on what I think I might be able to get into them. But I could sneak in there.
Has been amazing. I'm so grateful. Lizzie now says she shares my talent crush. So that is amazing. And I want a cuddle. Do you want a cuddle? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Zoe. We're so, so grateful. And I'm going to end it there, if that's okay with everyone, before this guy makes it totally obvious what he wants. Zoe, thank you so much. You've been an absolute legend. And I'll see you all soon. Thank you so, 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 so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.